Monday, you saw the extraordinary sight of the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shamila Batohi, walking out of the Nkabinde inquiry, which is probing whether Joburg Prosecution's boss, Andrew Chauke, is fit for office. What started that were questions from Chauke's advocate, Tembeke Toby, about an email sent to her by a man called Aris Danikas. Danikas had asked her to reinvestigate the case against Johann Booysen. Booysen had faced charges relating to his leadership of a police unit in Cato Manor in Durban. That unit was accused of murdering suspects and in some cases allowing people to die when their lives could have been saved. In the end, the charges against Booysen were withdrawn after he argued he was being targeted because he had been investigating people close to then President Jacob Zuma. Danikas was a police reservist who says he saw these killings himself. When Batohi took over as head of the NPA, he wanted her to reinvestigate or reinstate those charges against Booysen. Well, Aris Danikas himself has agreed to tell you his story this morning. Mr. Danikas, good morning to you and thank you for agreeing to speak to us. I know this has been a very tough story for you, so maybe we should start at the beginning. You were working as a police reservist with the Cato Manor police unit. What did you see there? What did you see happening?
Good morning, South Africa, and good morning, Stefan. Well, to get to the point, I witnessed torture of suspects. I witnessed executing suspects in cold blood. I witnessed manipulation of crime scenes. And I witnessed the Cato Manor members engaging in illegal activities and running a well-orchestrated enterprise, especially profiting from selling confiscated stolen goods and providing protection or removing dockets from cases.
So this was a police unit that, what you saw, they were literally killing people.
Correct. Correct.
How long did this... Go on.
Sorry, carry on. Carry on.
So, I mean, how long did this go on for? I mean, how many times did you see situations like this?
Well, I did my application in 1999. That took about a year to process. And in 2000, end of 2000, I got my certificate of appointment. Johann Booysen, who was a very close family friend for a couple of years, he has suggested I join the reserve force. And he pulled strings to take me straight to his unit. I was allocated at the provisional headquarters, just to get the record straight. And obviously when the Cato Manor was made by Booysen, then I was used by the Cato Manor unit as well. So in 2001, I was baptized to my first ever operation as a Rocky reservist. So I accompanied the Cato Manor task team. I called them Cato Manor task team. I don't know what they were called yet in 2001, but it was the same people. And we looked for a suspect that, when we found the suspect, and I remember that because that was the very first time I was initialized on that situation. They dragged the African man, from his bed. He was sleeping with his kids and children. And I remember it was raining, it was muddy, they took him out. The man was on his underwear. And they shot him at cold blood. All I saw was a circle of policemen around him. I was ordered to move away. Then I heard gun, 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 and shots. I said to myself, what just happened? I was in horror. Then I realized that this man was shot because he was dead. And then I said, where's the gun came from? So they told me to move away, you stupid Greek, don't ask questions. I was shocked about it, and that was the very first time I witnessed that incident. In 2004, I witnessed torture at the Cato Manor office. But then I had a small camera, which was like one of the first smartphones that came out. Not everybody knew about them. And because I had a gadget shop, for electronics, I had access to those smartphones. So when I saw that suspect being stripped naked, also an African suspect, stripped naked, complete naked, placed on a chair and start being tortured, then I said, no, this is not for me. So what I did then is, I took my cell phone and I click on a ringtone, so it looked like there was an incoming call. And then I start speaking in Greek. I remember I said, Ela mana, which is basically in Greek, hello mom. So those guys thought, oh, that's stupid Greek, he's talking to his parents. And I turned towards the torture and I managed to get 3 short video clips. Had I been discovered, I won't be here today to talk to you guys. So after that, I went to Booysen and I said, Johann, look what this guy's doing. the man just laughed and said, well, that's how my boys get processed. That's how we solve crimes. Then he told me to give him a copy of that and print him a frame from a laser printer.
Sure.
The other crucial story was in 2006, and now there were witnesses. My wife was present at my store, where what happened before that was that 3 police officers from the Cato Manor unit, Afrikaans guys, Van Tonder, Willifeer, and Mostert, came to my shop and took me for a drive around Smith Street and West Street. They were doing circles. And then that car was like an undercover car, so it had tinted windows. So Van Tonder opened, I was in the back seat with him, he opened his tinted window, he pulled out a gun, it wasn't a lethal gun, it was one of those pellet air guns. And he started shooting randomly at pedestrians. He was targeting only black pedestrians. I remember he shot at a bicycle guy who fell down. I was so embarrassed, I actually bent down. I said, please take me back to my store. Then I phoned Booysen to come to my store. I discussed with my wife, Celiana. I was horrified at what I've seen. And I said, I must report to my commanding officer and friend. So when Booysen came there, and I knew that he's going to react really funny, I knew he had supremacy ideas and he was a bit of a racist. So I placed a microphone camera on the counter so I can get a clear sound recording of the video surveillance. And when I told him the story, he told me, I know. And then he started telling me proudly, narrating to me. In fact, he made a graphic re-announcement of the reconstruction of a scene where, as those guys were driving back from Point Road, there was a casino there, where they were doing briefings once a month. They start shooting at pedestrians for fun, and you can see Booysen clearly making the actually gestures of shooting, and then he gets more graphic, and he tells how this poor black African woman, because she was wearing a short dress, he presumes she was a prostitute, because his title was, have I told you about the night we saw at the prostitute? And then he even goes down on his knees and hands, it's on the video, laughing, telling us how that poor African woman was horrified and being shot at, and she was ducking under the table.
Sure.
And then I told him, the mayor complained about this. He said, yes, they brought it to my office, but I took care of it. But last, if I have time, the worst of all was 2007, when, and that's the tragic one that was played at the commission, where we're driven at a crime scene with Booysen, and a civilian was present that came with us, and he just altered the crime scene, and he waited for the suspect to bleed.
Sure. So this is a 16-year-old boy whose life essentially could have been saved. This is what was played at the...
No, sorry. Let's correct this. The 16-year-old boy, Ndlovu, happened in 2011. After I left in 2008. My video is from suspects got shot at the crime scene, where we were called with Johann Booysen. Johann Booysen was in my house, and that's interesting, because remember, Johann Booysen testified that he didn't have any part on the daily operations of the Cato Manor unit. Yet he was with me all the time, receiving phone calls from low-ranking officers, inspectors, telling Johann, we have a problem, come quickly. So I will go with him because I was constantly with him, and that's how we ended up on those crime scenes. And I took photos and videos of that.
Sure. You Aris, try to tell your story. I mean, obviously you and he were no longer friends. You even set up a website to tell your story. What happened when you told the authorities? There was at one time charges against Booysen.
So, Stephen, what happened? After I did my internal, I'm an expert in whistleblower policies, and I work with Commission now on international implementation of policies of whistleblowing. So I consider myself an expert in that procedure. So in 2004, I was just a reservist, and I didn't know anything about the whistleblower concept. So I did what I had to do. I did an internal disclosure, public disclosure, which means going to your commanding officer, reporting it. Nothing happened, but things happened to me. I started getting suffering retaliation. My house was broken into. A lot of things happened. So I knew it was a quantifiable statistic that I would be killed. So I fled the country. In 2000, as I fled the country within a few months, because I had previously discovered the stolen laptop of the then Home Minister of Home Minister Affairs, Gigaba, Minister Gigaba's laptop. I had access to a lot of government emails. So when I went back to Greece, now imagine how my life is destroyed. I'm in a country which it's foreign to me because I've been away for 20 years, and I have to rebuild my life. But I still wanted to do something about South Africa because those victims and the families haunting my head. So what I did is I emailed a lot of authorities, I emailed Journalists Africa, and nothing happened. So what I did then is in beginning of 2009, I went on YouTube and I loaded some of my evidence. And I said to myself, I've done enough for South Africa.
Yeah.
Then because of that video, the NPA found me through an activist who saw obviously the video. They knew it was a pending investigation in 2011. And by late 2011, I was contacted by an investigative team of Sunday Times who then asked me if I want to assist the authorities. Of course, I said yes. And then the NPA approached me. They came 3 times to Greece, and it started a 7-year of a terrible, terrible situation. And that's something I'm saying always. My story is a textbook story of how not to handle a whistleblower. The authorities came 3 times, and all they wanted was to take me back to South Africa. They insisted, fly with us back to South Africa now to give evidence. They said, you guys are mad. I have a baby on the way. If I come back, you cannot protect me. I know how those people work. They have captured judiciary in SAP. There is no way you can protect me. So in 2006, after many delegations are coming forward, officials from Greece, from South Africa to Greece, they sent me a mutual legal agreement to sign. But at the last meeting at the embassy, which I have all the sound recordings of those meetings, and I want to go on record with that, they promised me that they will put me in a witness protection, they will help my family because we're in danger. That's what they told us. Yet they broke the promises. Although I signed my statement, although I went through all the steps to go through mutual legal agreement, to go through the Interpol, to give my statement, to guide the NPA, they never kept the promises. And then I found out by the media in 2018, I think, 19, that the case had been dropped. So I'm now very upset about it. I feel like I've been betrayed. There's no justice in Africa. I even doubt my own mind. And that is why I start sending those emails to the NPA. In fact, the one you've seen, it's only the one of the commissions. There's a trail of emails. Okay, just to go on record with that.
And Aris, what is it? So what did you sent these emails? You sent one of them to Shamila Batohi herself. We know now that it was sent to her. We know that from the commission. What did you want her to do? I presume you wanted her to bring back, to reinstate the charges against Booysen and some of the other people.
There were many issues there. First of all, I was angry about the way I've been handled. I felt betrayed. I felt used as a scapegoat. Because remember now, for all those years, I suffered terrible intimidation, as well as my family. I was stalked for 7 years by Johann Booysen. He was sending me hate letters, messages. He found my cell number, which I never gave to him because I was talking to him from a long time ago. And he found my cell phone number. He hunted down my wife, family, friends, underage kids. And so I was suffering such a character assassination campaign. So that was one issue I addressed. Look, I'm a witness, and this man is, terrorizing me. What are you doing about it? And then I said, look, these are the cases, these are the evidence. You came to South Africa, your unit came to South Africa, to Greece, I beg your pardon. I've handed over by strict protocol the evidence. We sold the evidence on a bag. It was done, forensically correct, and yet none of those evidence have been tested in a court of law. My testimony as a whistleblower was never tested in a court of law. What is going on? And then the reply was ridiculous, as we all know, as those South Africa find out. They sent it to KZN, and KZN replied with a very famous, well, if you know of a crime, go to your local police station and report a crime, which is adding insult to injury.
So that was the response you got. You sent a letter to the NPA,
Correct.
to the head of the NPA, with all of this evidence, and you were told to go to your local police station.
And they knew I was in Greece. So I must take a plane, fly back to South Africa, getting killed in the process, so I can report to the police station. You see, they knew. That's why I say the NPA was captured. They knew my situation. Obviously, they had the records. They knew who I was a witness. They knew my attorneys in Greece, the whole story for 7 years. And yet they were making a mockery of this because the NPA in Durban, KZN, was captured by the Cato Manor unit. In fact, I maintain that Shamila comes from Durban. If my recollection of those is correct, between 2000 and 2008, she was a head of the prosecutions in Durban, and Booysen was running, he was the head of serious violent crime and organized crime in Durban. So we know how the two work together.
Aris, what do you want to happen now? I presume, from what you say, you would want these charges brought back against Booysen, against other people. You have video evidence. There's no statute of limitations on murder. I mean, do you think there's a prosecutable case here?
It's definitely a prosecution case. I mean, I've spent nearly 10 years with organized crime and serious violent crime to know what it constitutes a legit prosecution case. But what I do want is, I want justice to the victims. I want justice for Glovo. I want justice for all those families that the beloved ones got tortured. There were underprivileged African families which they didn't have the money to pay a super duper attorney to represent them. You see, Johann Booysen had all those people behind him. He had AfriForum, he had, I won't even say names, they had a whole lobby of powerful players supporting his narrative, including journalists. I'm not going to name and shame yet. I expect an apology from them. So, including journalists who ignore my evidence for years, and they refuse to present a balanced story and voice the voice of the truth of the whistleblowers, because it didn't work well with the narrative at the time. So I would like to, it's my Christmas wish, the prosecution authority to be able to be free in South Africa to apply the mind. Because what is happening now, that's a very important point I want to make, Stephen, is that right now the NPA is captured and the prosecutors are afraid to prosecute. That is the sad part about the South African judiciary in South Africa, because if a prosecutor is still afraid to prosecute, although his heart and his gut's feelings, like Maema, I met Maema. Maema wanted to fight those racist people and those thugs, and nothing happened, and those men now are fighting for the jobs, the reputations, and to stay out of jail. So how do you expect those officials to do the job properly? So this is what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward for a clean prosecution with no phone calls and politicians under the table making deals and intimidate and kill whistleblowers. Very important point I want to make. And I want justice for those people, and I want an apology for the way South Africa treated me and the other whistleblowers on that case.
Aris Danikas, thank you for your time, sir. I really do appreciate it. The whistleblower and former member of the Cato Manor Police Unit. I must just point out, as you heard there, very strong claims made against Johann Booysen, claims that he's previously denied. We will attempt to try and contact him and offer him a right of reply. Still to come.